I'm Rebecca Kelley. I'm the Deputy Director of Sport and Recreation Services, which is the ACT government agency for the sport and recreation sector here in Canberra. I've been with Sport and Recreation Services for 11 years. I started there as a coaching director and have moved through various parts of the organisation now to really enjoy a role that has a great diversity right across the organisations, from high performance sport through to facilities, through to community interactions, through to government relations and executive type roles of budget and HR. So it's a very satisfying role now that I really enjoy. I guess my background to that was that I did graduate from UC, and of course not dissimilar to the ones that you are perhaps embarking on or you're currently working through, and graduated from that in '96, and then moved into community sport world, where I graved, that was really my training ground for learning everything about the sector, how to talk to people and relate to what was going on and the emerging issues, and being across that and trying to be proactive in recognising our industry as an industry and being a part of the business development of sport, and not just about the fun aspects of running around on the field and perhaps some of those other perceptions about our industry. Professionalism to me means the way that one conducts themselves, and that's everything from the look and feel about a person, so looking the part and speaking the part and being confident and I guess assertive in the role and representing the organisation that you're working for in the most appropriate manner. And I think in the inner part of that as well is actually knowing and making judgment calls around your communication, and that then flows through into the way that you are, I guess, perceived by others and the judgment calls that they make about you as a professional conducting yourself in the business that you're working in. I see a range of, I guess, the different levels of professionalism working in government, and that is everything from the minister in his suit and tie right down to our, the kitchen table administrators in sport that proudly wear their logo on their tracksuit. And flowing within that level of professionalism, it's not any degrees of professionalism, it's all professional, it's just a different image that's I guess portrayed, that we see the differences. And I think the key thing that is common against all those elements of the continuum of professionalism, if I could call it that. It's the passion and the poise that is coming across, and that's when people start to listen and they start to become engaged in what you've got to say, and start to respect you as a professional in the message that you're trying to communicate. The attributes and characteristics of people within the sports industry that I think are valued and recognised within those working in the industry are really about people being, as I said before, passionate about their particular sport or product or whatever service it is that they might be trying to deliver to the public, whether that be high performance right down to junior competition bases. And they know their topics, they know their sport, they're passionate about it, and the key thing that I think really gives them the big tick about professionalism is that they can really engage others in their sport, and that comes down to great communication skills and being able to read the audience, whether that be individual or a group or a media conference, or as the case may be. And I don't think those professional attributes are really that different from a lot of other industries, because when you boil it all down, professional people are able to sell their message in an engaging way and do it in a way that gains the respect of the people that they're trying to engage with. And certainly within the sporting industry we see that a lot. In my role we work with high performance athletes through the Academy of Sport. We also work with groundsmen that look after all our sporting facilities around the town, and we work with community sporting organisations with their funding. And so within that range of the diversity of people that we see there, I'm always amazed at the varying characteristics that we see there. And it's that egos that we see in the athletes that you go, wow, irrespective of how great you are at your sport, you can really look the part and sell the part. So you're going to be a great advocate for what you're doing, and I think that's a great characteristic, because sometimes it really is about talking the talk, and then you're really catching up behind with the, I guess, the value add and the content of what you're trying to do. working out in the facilities area, it's, you know, they've got great communicators out in that space, I guess, with respect to that part of the industry. However, they're so passionate about what they know and how the facilities have to come together and how tall the grass is allowed to grow and all of those sorts of things, that it's not the verbal messages that you're getting from those professionals, it's about the doing and what you're actually seeing on the ground that heightens the level of respect as soon as you walk through the gate. The community sporting organisations, they're the people that are always perhaps in the background and you don't see them front of house all the time, but that doesn't diminish the level of professionalism that those people have and the role that they have to play in our industry. And you know, it's no different for them in terms of that, perhaps that white line fever of everyone in the industry. When you step over a line, you're coming into a specific job or role to play. For those people, it might be coming into a meeting with government to really, you know, secure that next 50 grand of funding for whatever else it might be. It might only be 5,000. It's still that drive and professionalism that we see coming in the door. And that's the same level of professionalism and drive for wanting their sport to evolve and grow and all of those things that we see when they talk to parents on Saturday mornings in the delivery of competitions. So when it all boils down to us, I think it's about knowing your sport, knowing your product, engaging with it, being an advocate for it so everyone else starts to engage with it and listen to you in terms of what it is our sport, what our industry has to offer, and how great it is, and yeah, come be a part of it, whether that be administrator, participant, spectator, you know, and the list goes on. Professional teamwork is fairly critical, I'd say, within our industry, and it's not just the sort of the phrase there, teamwork, that sort of goes hand in hand with a lot of sporting endeavours, I guess, but really a lot of, if we look at the foundations of sport, it really has been not just singular people striving the way, it's really about people working in teams, building up organisations to what they are today. And it doesn't matter whether it's one of the NRL clubs or the Brumbies over here at the UC Sporting Commons or whatever those high profile organisations, they all started really in small clubland, and they grew because people held hands, they got behind a message and really started to evolve and grow organisations. So it's critical. Teamwork is critical, and the base work of that teamwork is communication, and it's about respectful communication, and that's where the professionalism comes in terms of being able to read situations and respond and adapt accordingly. You know, quite often you see teams that are functional, they're highly productive, but if you were to really drill down into those teams, it's, you know, not necessarily everyone likes each other all the time. That's par for the course, and that's the reality of working in any industry, or, you know, whether you're working in a coffee shop, a school, or you know, a profile sporting team or club, is that it's about recognising the communication that's required, and sometimes it's about biting your tongue. Everyone does it, but it's being able to have a united goal and how we're going to get there. What's the role that everyone's going to play in able to, you know, get to that end point, and then you have that reflection of going, and actually, you know, we had some troubles along the way, but we were able to work well together and look at the outcome. And true professionals can really, I think, reflect on that and say, yep, I did a good job there. I didn't perhaps that was a little bit weak there, and so when we do it next time, we're going to do it a little bit better. And so the lessons that you learn, that, you know, they're part and parcel of teamwork, but I think they make an effective team. My career advice to students wanting to succeed within the sport and recreation industry is to actually tap into the reason why you chose to study in this area in the first place, and to find that passion and that fire, and to really build that and make that, you know, the driving force behind your career goal. I see so many students that come out, and we have them as interns in our office, or we see them out in the industry, and the ones that really succeed are the ones who make connections early on. They're not afraid to ring up you know, me or someone else in the industry and say, have you got time for a quick coffee? I'd really love to just, you know, come and pick your brains on a couple of things. And don't be shy to do those types of approaches, because the worst that you're going to get is no, sorry, I don't have time. And I think people within the sporting industry, they want to see the industry prosper and be filled with good operators and people that are passionate about what they have to do. So take those opportunities on board, and don't be afraid to ask. I think it's when you see those opportunities to be open to them. Quite often I see students come out and we have some chats and they say, I'm pumped about event planning and event management, and that's what I want to do. But the focus becomes a little bit narrow, and so I quite often say, if that event management per se had a little bit of, administration of budget and HR and those sorts of things, or perhaps you might have some high performance management come in on the side, depending on the nature of the event. Be open to taking up those opportunities, because it's all about building up your toolkit, and if you've only got a couple of tools in your bag, then your job offers and opportunities and things along the way are going to be somewhat limited if you're not prepared to open up that bag and really say, actually, that's where I've got a weakness, I really want to get some runs on the board there. So whether that be chasing some further work experience, finding a mentor, and that's a tool that I've used fairly often along my career path, from when I graduated out of UC right through to the position I hold within government today, and that's come through a couple of sporting organisations and various volunteer roles and things, is that I've really identified professionals that along the way that I think, actually, I really like the way that person does that, or I wonder how they got to be in that position, and ask the questions. And as I said before, it doesn't hurt to do that, and people are more than willing to help. And I've had some really great mentors that they've started off as mentors, but have evolved into friendships that I really value now, and I don't hesitate if there's sort of something going on that I can just still ring and go, hey, what do you think about this? Because it's doing my head in, or I really need some assistance, or at the same time, if we have some wins, then we've sharing things along the way. It's like we just opened the Gungahlin Leisure Centre out at Gungahlin, and they're big projects that have huge monetary and community commitment and a whole range of things behind them, that to be able to share that amongst colleagues and even to someone that you work with and go, actually, you helped me with some ideas there, and look, we've got to this end point. So it's been really valuable. Other pieces of advice I think would be about, once you get those opportunities, to really prove your worth. And so when you accept a role, whether it be a volunteer role, an internship, or it's actually a paid position, to really get in there and do the hard yards and prove your worth. Because it's those people that do that are going to be the first considered for when things come around the next time. When I say proving your worth, I also mean it's about identifying your own strengths, and if that's what you need to run with initially to get some runs on the board in terms of your recognition of what you can do, grab that and really run with it. At the same time, recognise your weaknesses and be proactively strengthening those, so that you're bringing yourself up to par, and as before, really building up that toolkit. It's the worth that you have to an organisation makes you more employable, and so if you are grabbing opportunities around them as you move along the way, more doors open, and before you know it, your aspiration of being a CEO of a national sporting organisation is only 1 or 2 steps away, and that can happen pretty quickly. But underlying that is be realistic. I see it all the time. Graduates come out and think, well, what's your career goal? Well, I want to be a CEO, I want to be a sports agent, I want to be the key event manager for that. And really, the reality is it's not going to happen for you straight away. And you need to do the hard yards and work yourself through the various positions to get where you want to be. And I think those that recognise that and are realistic about it are the ones that have a greater chance of getting it down the track, because if you just expect everything to be laid out on the table for you, it's not going to happen. That's the harsh reality. And I'm 10 years down the track in a government role of having moved through various steps, and I can tell you that it doesn't get laid out on the table for you. But you reap the rewards once you do the hard work, and I guess that's a key message of advice.